Good day, viewers. Our topic today is on bullying, a topic we have been hearing about, seeing traversing the headlines over the past couple of weeks. Lately, we have seen where bullying they have taken over the headlines in both print and electronic media, leading even to suicide by death. Even making headlines just recently was a classic case of two mothers fighting with cutlasses in front of the Cedros Secondary School. And what example are they setting for our young ones? Welcome to our program, Professor Prakash Persad, former president of UTT. Mr. Persad, welcome. And Doc, firstly, before we get into the topic, how was your Diwali?
Firstly, thank you. Good afternoon to the viewers, and thank you for having me. This year, Diwali was pretty nice in the sense that this is the first time in many years we had neither rain nor winds when we lighted Diya.
That is so true.
Warm, yes, well, that's fine, but it was really nice in that regard. We lit Diyas right through without any sort of interference and having to relight them. So that was really nice.
Yeah, that is nice to hear. Even in South, where I live in Princestown, yes, there was not a lot of wind, so people were able to light their Diyas. That is good. But on to our topic, Professor. You said you are on your way to retirement, but like a doctor, a teacher will always be a teacher. That is why I chose you to discuss our topic today. I am sure with your many years of experience in the teaching industry, you have come across bullying many times. Bullying in the society making its way into homes and making its way into our school system. First of all, is enough being done to address this situation?
Well, firstly, let me admit that it is really a bad situation. I mean, we're in a place that is not good, and we need to get out of it. I don't think that there are any sort of quick fix solutions, in the sense that firstly, they need to take action in the schools, yes, but that is not going to solve the problem. It's going to prevent it from occurring or being worse. But I think it starts really at the home. So it's not going from the school to the home. I think it's coming from the home to the school, where if children are properly brought up, they have better sort of values. It's unlikely they'll behave that way in schools.
It comes down to discipline, production, and tolerance, or watchwords. And and that is why I gave the example of the two mothers fighting outside the school with cutlasses. What example are they setting for these children?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It starts from the home, and the very fact that they arrive at the school with cutlasses. All right. I mean, I'm sure they didn't find the cutlass in the school, eh?
They didn't find the cutlass on the grass. So it was premeditated, yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That I think the society has been hiding from this for a long while now. That the family values, family life has broken down in a significant way in the country. It reflects also in the crime, because bullying is a precursor to crime, and criminals, and the gangs. And we hear all sort of nonsense talk, but nothing to fix the problem. Like I say, fixing society is a long-term problem. We must put things in place. And I have not seen, I don't know if you have, but anything that would say that is going to happen.
How can you identify a bully? If you are a teacher in a classroom, can you identify a bully?
The children tend to, I mean, it's difficult. The children don't bully in front of the teachers. They bully the other classmates outside the classroom, right, in the corridors, the washrooms, etc. So I think a mechanism must be set up for these teachers to be, become aware, be told that when students are bullied, how they should act. So that is something that I think that needs to be done, and then decisive action can take place. I can give an example, and I don't want to call the school's name or the people's name, right?
Of course, yes.
But there was an example of a boy in a classroom, right? So I'm not calling his name, who has been a bully in a long time, and the principal called in the parents and said, hey, you either straighten this guy out, or you'll have to leave the school. eventually he had to leave the school because the principal was not prepared to tolerate bullying in the school. So once it's identified, I think swift and effective action must be taken. That's the only way to deal with it in the school, that is.
So you think more should be done by the Ministry of Education to intervene on a greater level?
Yep, yep. They need to. I don't. Right now you have this sort of management by crisis. When there's a problem, then they say something and then they forget about it and nothing happens. You have to put systems in place, all right? That and the ministry should make rules clearly. Discipline of students should be very clear. It should be, if you have been a bully and you have been identified as a bully, you're going to be suspended, right? Maybe you're sent to one of these camps like Mylat or wherever or counseling to help the child improve. But it must be in a system in place. It can't be left up to individual teachers or schools. It must be across the board, and it's the ministry's duty to set such guidelines and rules in place.
Of course. So I am asking, should the Ministry of Education work on a larger scale with the Children's Authority to control this, to get a grapple on it?
Well, I don't know if Children's Authority might be the right. I mean, they may be part of the consultation, but I think we have to be practical also. I mean, you can't have a policeman in school all the time, right? Or these sort of things. I know, like, what I've seen is that years ago, students would behave very badly because there are few schools nearby I live. And then some action was taken that they have to go home straight. They couldn't lime, they couldn't these sort of things, right? At least if they were seen, right? Because they were police patrols.
Right.
So that kind of stopped that problem. But the issue in the school system now, I mean, I understand teachers. Teachers have been threatened, right, from way back, and it has become worse now. So teachers are a bit, uneasy or afraid actually, and you can't blame them for trying to take action on students. So maybe the ministry needs to put some sort of, like I said, other than the rules, some sort of personnel in every school who will deal with this sort of behavior. I mean, maybe the community police, if that comes back, maybe one way out. But right now, I think, the dean of disciplines in the school are still teachers who still are being threatened. Students and the parents of later. Some parents seem to have no regard and respect for teachers.
Doesn't the ministry has an office for, like, say, a probation officer in some schools?
I know the school supervisor, right? They normally tend to, if there are issues in the school, right, the students are reported upwards. But that is a very lengthy process. And then because of fear of legal issues, right, legal ramifications, it takes a long time. They have to write, have to be very careful what they're saying, etc. So I think bullying needs to be dealt with quickly. And maybe if there's a probation officer, like I say, from wherever he comes from, right? I mean, you look at maybe have a rotational thing. I'm going to throw out an idea, like we have the army. I we fought any wars. Trinidad. We didn't fight anybody as far as I know, right?
No. They're practically, people say they get paid to do nothing.
I think they should have some sort of rotational program in school. So this probation have some sort of discipline. Let probably station on a rotational basis with fixed guidelines for members of the army. That will be, as you said, they're being paid.
Yes.
Taxpayers' money. We're not going to fight any wars, right? So I think that will be a good use. It will be value for money for them in the school system. In any event, they are the ones who run Mylat and My Part, I believe. This sort of military discipline for errant students, isn't that so?
Yes.
So it's expand that a bit. So don't leave it separate from the school system. Have them in the school system too.
So you are saying they should be implemented in the system, and thereby they would bring some sort of discipline to the students, so they will see some sort of guidelines, some North Star, where there is some sign of hope, that there is hope for change.
That's right, and they will be implementing it. I think they are the best ones, right? I mean, the discipline, right? I said they have the, they're part of the army. Once the regulations are put in place, which the ministry needs to do, right? Put the regulation in place for these military officers to be in the school. You see, look, sooner or later, bullying right now it may be just be words, right? So sometimes they hit students, right? We have seen cutlashes outside. We have heard of students walking with knives inside, right? It won't be long before they're shooting, right? At university level, I've been telling my colleagues that we have to be proactive. Let us not wait for something to happen at university because it's coming up from the school system. So we need to attack it at the school system, put things in place. Because I don't think it's going to be practical to have scanners, metal scanners, etc., in schools to detect who come in with knives and guns. So you should prevent that and have the army there, right? Officer to working together with the school to put an end to this, start the process of putting an end to this bullying in schools. And you see, the students will be more inclined, more likely to inform the army officer if they've been bullied as opposed to a teacher. And the army officer will more likely act because he's there to act as opposed to a teacher who may say, hey, I'm here to teach. I'm not here to, to see about these other issues.
In order to have change, you must have, as I said before, a guiding light, like a North Star. So there must be a goal. How prepared are we when students change over from primary schools to secondary schools and are being bullied? Do we teach them about it in the primary schools, what to expect when you enter this new realm in secondary schools?
But it's not
You are in the
done.
system a long time.
Yeah, it has to be done. I mean, like I say, you're going to a different environment. In the secondary schools tend to be bigger, right? So therefore, the opportunities of bullying are more there, right? Because in the grounds, etc. Right? So they must be prepared. I think it has to be a joint thing with the family and with the school. Now, I mean, like, look at children. We tell children, and the parents do that, and it's reinforced in the schools, do not go with strangers. It's not so. I mean, like in some schools, right? You have most schools actually. If you take up with children, you have to say who's coming for them. They need to know. It's not so. And the children are told that also. Do not accept things from strangers. Do not go with strangers. So it's done at the home. It's reinforced at the school. So again, that we need to look at again that in the homes must tell children that somebody is bothering you because sometimes we tell children and we do children grandchildren if somebody tries to touch you inappropriately shout scream run go to the teacher, right? So we need to let them know that people are bullying you, this person, this school will deal with it, so we need to do that. The other thing is that some in the school system, if you look at the range of physical sizes of students, some are pretty big, and some are small.
Yeah,
So I think the smaller ones are more likely to be bullied.
true.
So that is something.
It could be the reverse too. You believe me?
But you have the occasional small people who are very aggressive, right?
They will be the bad John, so to call.
Yeah.
Now, Professor, does politics interfere into how an issue like this is contained? Each party may have their own views, their own method on how to solve it. Does the political divide cause problems into bringing a solution to this?
Well, like I said, the politics dominate every aspect of our life. If people think that politics have no impact on our lives, I think they're not living.
They are dreaming. You're right.
Right? So the governments, right, and the governments are formed through politics. It's not so, and therefore they must act. Now, I would think an issue like this, both sides should collaborate on it. Because it has the potential to really make this country worse. I mean, right now we see the effect of all these gangs. It's not beyond the realm of possibility, right? It's more in the realm of probability, right? Actually, that a lot of these bullies move into gangs, and there are gangs in schools already, and I'm sure the bullies are in those gangs.
Did you come across gangs before you went on to UTT when you were in the primary school system? Was that
I
evident
never,
there back then?
no, I, so to be totally transparent, I've never taught at primary secondary school. My wife and my brothers did. All right.
Okay.
So I mean, I hear from them. So it's what the information. I mean, my wife took early retirement because of the kind of issues in schools, and a lot of teachers are taking early retirement because of
They
the.
can't handle the stress.
No, it's difficult, people, right? So, but at the university, I mean, I taught first at UWI, which is an elitist society, so people there were well behaved, right? If they were not, I mean,
So
some
there's hardly
segments.
likely at university level that you would have a bully present.
No, well, at UTT, I've seen that it's starting to creep in. In some of the programs you're running where people, if you went through the normal academic programs that people went through for the certificate, the diploma, to the degree, right? But there are also other programs where people are being brought in to be trained. And I've seen in that, and I've spoken to my colleagues on that. I don't think they're very appreciative of it. But that if we will see signs of it there, and unless it's dealt with severely, um, it will blossom. It will grow more.
So you have to
They will want
you have to put
they
a
want
plug on it.
to dealt with it. Sorry.
I say you have to cap it.
Yeah, so that's what happened. The few cases we saw, we acted quickly, and so it kind of, sent a message that this won't be tolerated. But unless you act, as I said, unless you act quickly and decisively, then it won't be contained. It will grow, actually.
Without calling names, you could give us an example. Tell us how have you seen bullying creeping its way into university level?
Well, it's in a particular program, again, which I can't call a name, right?
I know.
But,
Tell us how you have noticed this.
Yeah, well, students were, like I said, the cohort of students were being brought from general population to be trained, right? For a particular program. And that we had instances of students complaining that they were being threatened, right? So once that came to my attention, my office, we dealt with it severely. And together with the relevant ministry saying, hey, this cannot continue. The student either conforms and behaves or is going to be out. So it was done very quickly, and the ministry, cooperated well in that regard also.
So it is present at university level with adults, and as I said to our viewers, it starts from the home, it moves into the primary school level, secondary school, and now it is creeping its way into university level. And now we have seen lately where, even quoting Justice Frank C. Persad, he said, the action of bullies and evil, they have found themselves in offices, communities, courts, and even in the parliament. Your comments on that?
Well, I don't think I'm qualified to comment on the justice's comment there. I mean, he would have reason to.
So he would have reason. He was speaking at a Diwali function, and he said so.
Yeah.
Yes, he said.
No, but I mean, like,
he have
people
seen
see
it
there's
creeping its way there.
Yeah, you see there's a general breakdown of discipline in society at large. And like I say, it's manifested in various ways. In fact, in some Diwali functions in Central, people have told me that the bullies pass and knock the diyas down, etc. So it's been around,
We have been, as you mentioned, that bullies pass and they knock down the diyas. I find lately there have been a lot of abuse of religious sites. We are seeing it more and more, particularly Hindu mandirs and so on. What are your comments on that?
But that I did write on that when I think the acting prime minister spoke at a Yag function, right? And I did write to the organizers saying that they should take the acting minister's words to heart and follow up with him and ensure that what he said he will do, that he does it. Because I think they come to these functions and make great promises, but I don't think anything happens after that.
No, it's just
because,
just like the case, Professor, when this young boy had committed suicide at St. Stephen's College. It's off the headlines and we forget about it. You know, big
Yeah.
candlelight march and all of that, and 2 weeks later something else take over the news. Let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion on bullying, and I will restart by giving you, the viewers, some warning signs that your child is being bullied. We'll be right back. Investigative journalism builds communities. Welcome to Hotline with Dookie on ITV every Monday live at 1 to 2 p.m. Challenges facing the nation. The economic outlook when wages are not rising as high as food prices. Will we be making a softer economic landing? Some experts are cautiously optimistic now. Health, job security, education, social imbalance, and the security of our nation all comes to mind. Experience all of this and more just ahead on Hotline with Dookie on ITV.
Yeah, I'm hearing you also, yes.
Welcome back, viewers, to Hotline with Dookie on ITV and iRadioTT.com. Professor, welcome back, Professor Dr. Prakash Persad, where we are discussing bullying in the school system and in the homes and how it have made its way into society. Before we went on a break, I mentioned some warning signs, parents out there, that you should look out for. And these are unexplained cuts or bruises on your child, damaged or missing clothing, books, school supplies and other belongings. A child may have loss of appetite, trouble sleeping, emotionally reticent, taking unnecessarily long routes to school. They may not want to pass on the everyday route that they are accustomed to. They may have sudden reasons that they have stomach ache or headache and may want to stay at home. Sudden poor performance or loss of interest in school work. No longer wanting to hang out with friends. And social anxiety or low self-esteem. Pandit, back to you. Have you come across any students or young ones you know who have gone through this bullying?
Yeah,
Could you identify it by seeing them?
Well, I don't know. One to that, the parents reported to me in my capacity as members of the temple in Prizal, the ashram. So then, I mean, like the latest case, I did refer to the school supervisor, and I did talk to other people to get him sort of counseling, right? Because the guy was a bully actually, so I was dealing with a bully, right? And we had to counsel him and talk to him and get him involved, with the parents involved, and outside people other than the ministry, to let him know that this shouldn't continue. But I've heard of instances, but I can't say I've dealt with it, personally. Students who were bullied. Yeah.
So, how could you help kids to understand bullying and how to stand up to it safely?
Well, I think you have to be careful. If students have been bullied, normally bullying takes place not under the eyes of the teacher, right? But outside outside the classroom itself. And we have to be careful with telling students how to deal with it, just in case they're physically hurt. So I would think the best thing, the best way to tell students, the best path forward is to let them respond to the teachers, stay away from the bully. Don't go where you're going to bully. Stay with your friends, etc., in the classroom or go out in the group, in the court, in the yard, in the school, right, in the corridors. Stay away. So if you're in a group, you're unlikely to be bullied. You're going to the washroom, go with friends also. So that is something. So it gives you a sort of protection, a protective layer, if you wish. And then I think once it happens, they should inform the teachers. If their friends are with them and there's an attempt at bullying, then there's going to be a second person or third person who would verify.
There will
the
be a
bullying.
witness, yes.
Yeah, right. So it helps in that regard.
Schools also, they need to communicate clear policies and protocols for bullying behavior.
Yes, the school, like I said, that school must be implemented in the school, but the ministry itself must stand up some more specific rules and be, like right now, if a student reports that they, a particular female student, that they are being, dealt with, in an inappropriate manner at home, the teacher has to report it to the police station, That's the law,
Yes.
So what I'm saying, so you need a similar kind of approach, where this has to be made illegal. Bullying, like I said, really is a minor crime, but a crime nevertheless. It causes injury to the physically to the person, mentally, and as some of the signs you point out may destroy a student's career, right? So these are things. So it causes great harm. So in effect, is violence against the person, and it must be dealt with and be seen in that light.
Speaking about that issue you just raised there, I have on Sunday, October 20th, Newsday, where Mary, fake name I'm using, mother of 3 from Mount Labert, she is seeking help to address the challenges she faced with her teenage daughter, Jane. Now, in an interview with Newsday, she raised concern that she reported a case in her home where her daughter was being abused. She reported it to the St. Joseph Police, to the Children's Authority, and not enough was being done to address this issue. She was told since 2021 she have been reporting it, that an adult male in a home whom she caught was abusing her daughter. And that is just one case. We have several, probably hundreds of cases like this, where young girls, they are being abused in the homes and nothing is being done. Your comments?
Again, this is a failure of society, and again of the governments, that you have to really take this thing seriously. And the police themselves, I think there's a general sort of ethos in the police. That's a matter for the home. It is not, right? It is not. It's something that's a crime taking place. I mean, let's look at an example. If a spouse shoots another spouse at the home, does the police not get involved because violence was involved, the law was broken? So it's a similar thing, but police seems to be very reluctant, and you hear these complaints over and over again, years now, that the police needs to react to these things, right? And I don't know if the average policeman will be competent to so do. Maybe they need to have, in each station, an officer assigned, right, who has training to deal with these sort of issues, so they will take with it. I mean, all movies are bad, they're based in reality, but if you look at the very popular series, Special Victims Unit, on TV, that's the sort of thing they did, I mean, you don't need to have a special unit, but, specialized training for policemen in all stations, so they can deal with it, they can, and investigate it. But right now, the general tendency is to ignore it. So that's a home problem. Should be left with at home. And many a times you have heard people report cases of threats to them, and nothing is done, and then they're killed, they're murdered. So this has to stop.
Look at the classic case with Hannah Matura, where several reports were made to the police, to the Children's Authority, and yet nothing was being done, even by the neighbors.
Yeah, the neighbors reported, I understand the family reported it also, eh?
Yes, the
But
immediate family within the home. He said he
that's
made
right.
several reports to the Children's Authority pleading for help.
So I think the relevant authority really is the police. The Children's Authority is if the person has been identified, their role is different, eh? But the police, I would put it strictly and firmly
The
in the
hands of the
lap of the
police.
police. Yeah, they are the ones who are empowered, and they are the ones who are, that's what I'm saying, that there needs to be some sort of training for these guys. Like each station must have somebody. You see, we don't react in Trinidad, eh? As you point out, we had the 9 day wonder or 7 day wonder, right? People
Yes.
complain bitterly and all sort of things, and then you forget and move on, eh? But we need to put things in place. We need to take action and sort of institute it and make it a systemic issues. They must be dealt with systematically, eh? And put in a systemic way, have rules and laws and regulations to deal with it, eh? Not leave it on the individuals.
We need to empower bystanders to create a safer environment for
Well, we do have
society.
right now you have the ability for citizens arrest. But I won't do that. I know if you will, but if I see something happening in the road and try
You
to
turn your
intervene.
head.
No, I mean, probably I'll call the police, but intervene and do a citizen's arrest. More than likely, will put in your life in danger. Eh?
True.
So,
But
so
that
I
is why
think what
they have these things like 800 tips and so on.
that's right. So you call it in right away, and the police needs to respond. I mean, you give an example. Who? And I'm not bashing the police. I am stating facts, right? What is the average response time for the police? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days? No, I'm saying
It
New York
depends.
City.
Yes, I have known in some cases where they never show up at all.
That's right. So, I mean, New York City, yeah, the police respond within 5 minutes. All right. Even Trinidad, you have some of these, when you have these sort of, alarm systems with security, they tell you within 15 minutes they'll be there. So how do you judge the police performance? You have to have some standards, right? So these sort of things, right? I mean, and who's collecting the data? How many complaints were made at police station? Let me say on this same thing about abuse at home. How many did they act on? When did they act on? All this data needs to be looked at. And that's why, I find it strange in this country, like I said, everything is politics and take a photograph and nothing happens after it. Why can't we use AI, artificial intelligence, to start analyzing all this data, to put things in place and deal with it? You see, it's done. I mean, we did a study when I was at UV on the grad project where we got data on when accidents occurred. All right. And we found that accidents occur mainly 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. and mainly from people coming from parties when you test these sort of things. Eh? So you have data, but nobody acts on the data. And that's the problem. We are a country of talkers, huh?
And fail to do anything about it. Now, bullying can be out of the school too for the public viewing day. We have online bullying taking place, which is becoming more and more popular now. I don't know if popular is the right word, but we have been seeing more and more, yes, online bullying taking place, Professor. Your comments on that?
Well, this again, and this is not new. I don't know, there was some years ago, there's something called some kind of blue whale something. I mean, I don't follow it. But they were encouraging people to commit suicide. Right? Years ago. And people did, eh? So, which is a form of bullying, eh? So we need to, again, the amount of time people spend on these sort of smartphones need to be looked at. Again, is a combined effort. The parents must set some limits to what students look at the children, how long they spend on the phone, right? Give them and let them do other things, and then keep a tab on what they're looking at. Eh? And you see, Trinidad, I don't know if you know this. I mean, to just deviate slightly, Trinidad some years ago, when internet came popular at UV, we allowed all students to access the internet. All right, and then when they did analysis, they found a lot of students were going to pornographic sites. And in fact, Google said that Trinidadians rank very high, if not first, on people accessing pornographic sites. So there is a sort of culture, I mean, it's a slightly different point. But only when they found out that, then the action we took place like in universities, all universities now, we have some sites that are banned automatically, if
Yes.
access site, right? So it's a similar thing that we need to look at, but we need to tell this, our children, also grandchildren, etc., family, that you need to limit the amount of time children spend on these smartphones. It's not good for them, all right? And then, the use of it and regularly inspect what they're looking at. To set some, you can program the phone so not to go to sites or find out from them what their friends are saying, etc. Because it is a very insidious thing. Before, if you're not careful, before you realize it, what is happening, it might be too late, huh?
So in, say, primary school levels, should there be some limit as to what students can access on the internet, or should we ban cell phones completely?
Well, in schools, I don't think you can carry cell phone in primary schools. Most schools don't allow that. I think you have issue, they call the parents, but students ought not to carry phones, right?
They may hide
In
it. They may hide it and take it.
But as a parents, you need to have some exercise, some sort of control there also. And even at university, I mean, I give an example. Like you can't tell them don't bring phones in university, right? They come,
No,
right? But
they
you
are
have,
adults.
but yeah. But what you do, I mean, people when you look at it, they're on the phone all the time. So you teach them, and they're on the phone all the time. So what I do normally in my first class,
Uh-huh.
I will tell the students, anybody asks me a question. They'll ask me a question. I'll turn my back to them, take out my phone, and pretend I'm reading. And then I ask, how do you feel? That you're talking to me, I am looking at the phone. How do you think I feel? Or why in the classroom and not listen to why you're here on the phone?
You
So,
reverse
sending
it,
message
yeah.
it's very clearly, we not force you to come in the class. I mean, though you have a minimum attendance requirement, but when you come to the class, you have to be polite. And again, that sort of rudeness is a peripheral form of bullying too, eh?
It is
You can,
embedded there. So it brings a view that there need to be a new approach to discipline.
well, I think like in Florida, there was some talk about having that people under a certain age, 14 or whatever, couldn't have cell phones, or have cell phone, this smartphone, these accounts, social media accounts,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that is something. Why would I mean? You need to communicate, right, with your friends, but have this social media is I don't know whether it's more bad or more good. That has to be worked out. But a lot of people say the negative aspects seem to be outweighing the positive aspects now.
And when there's a situation where the negative outweighs the positive, it is a reason to be concerned and a reason for society to take action.
Indeed.
So we need to administer consequences for these undesirable action immediately.
Well, like I said again, I mean, I think for the in the school system, right? You can let secondary, like I said, primary school. I don't think people should have phones, smartphones, etc. Right? The secondary school system, no, to have some mechanism where people can call their parents, right? If need be, but there's no need to have that sort of thing at university where people are, adults 18 over. You can't. But then I think that we can look at countries, have some countries monitor social media sites effectively, and maybe that's something we need to look at in Trinidad also. And that's censorship, undue censorship of monitoring.
Have you come across, does racial discrimination impact on bullying?
Well, that is something that, generally speaking, and I hope I'm not being controversial or being stereotyping people, but generally speaking, on the average, East Indians tend to be a bit more docile, and therefore, it's likely, or the possibility that they may be bullied more, and that needs to be looked at. You see, in Trinidad, in this country, we're afraid to talk about race, And therefore we don't deal with it.
We don't deal with it, yes.
Yeah, we need to look at these things, not as hatred, right? But as analyzing the problem, there are many factors. Ethnicity is a factor also. It's not so.
Look at
And
the
therefore,
US election, they are talking about race openly.
yeah, well, and the US actually speak about openly Britain also, right? So what I'm saying, if you don't address the problem, if you sweep it under the carpet, it gets worse, eh? So address it, there are issues, and we need to look at. And I think this is something that we, as a society also, we fail, eh? It becomes, it's hypocritical, right? And, it's used negatively when it suits people's purposes, eh? But it needs to be addressed, openly and properly and dealt with analytically in an academic manner. Put the facts and figures out there. Because like crime, you look at the crime. And if you look at the figures, right, you can see for yourself who are more affected. But the society doesn't want to deal with that because then it becomes political and, people jump on the bandwagons. Eh? But the fact is, that people, and we're not saying it's deliberate or not. And I can give an example of that. Eh? Like when the Pandit from Arangwas talked about, East Indians being targeted. Now I called him and said afterwards, maybe you should have said that Arangwas is mainly East Indian,
Yes.
right? Live there.
Yeah.
And say this is a community in which, a East Indian community which has been targeted.
Targeted,
You're
yeah.
not giving, yeah, right. As simple as that. So you're not saying who is doing it, whatever, or it's
Yeah,
done
when you say
deliberately.
East Indians, you will give a sense that there's vengeance and that it is against all East Indians.
No, the communities we identify is very specific. This is Eastern community, and people have been robbed, home invasions, right, regularly, and this is a fact. So they need to look at it. And if they don't look at it, then the conclusion will be that Easterners have been targeted. You see, the politicians and the police seem to be ignorant of this fact. Eh? Like analysis in this
And
country.
again, yes, analysis and data plays a great role. Pandit, let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, the final part of our program on helping kids understand how bullying prevails and how to stand up to it safely. We'll be right back. Investigative journalism builds communities. Welcome to Hotline with Dookie on ITV every Monday live at 1 to 2 p.m. Challenges facing the nation. The economic outlook when wages are not rising as high as food prices. Will we be making a softer economic landing? Some experts are cautiously optimistic now. Health, job security, education, social imbalance, and the security of our nation all comes to mind. Experience all of this and more just ahead on Hotline with Dookie on ITV. Welcome back, viewers, to Hotline with Dookie on IETV and iRadioTT.com, where we are live. Pandit, welcome back. Before I went on the break, yes, I spoke about encouraging kids, helping kids to understand bullying and how to stand up to it safely. We also need to encourage kids to do what they love and to build confidence in themselves and make friends. We also have to model treating with others with kindness and respect. Your comments there?
Yeah, I agree with you. That needs to be done, right? Like I say, I would say at the home, right? Also, I was saying the religious institutions, the mandirs and mosques and churches, right? That they also should be involved in that helping, because people would tend to talk to the priest or imam or the pandit, right? If the issues, so the family must work in conjunction with the religious institutions, but those are informal mechanisms. I think formal mechanisms should be put in place in the school system, right? And like as when you have, for instance, orientation in the schools, all schools have orientations, they should be brought up and should be repeated regularly so students will become aware of it and how to act in it. And like I say, I think the safest way, this is my firm belief, is that it should be reported and be dealt with. The students themselves should not try to fight back. All right. So it's all good and kind, and I think it's nice to be polite and friendly, etc. But also one must be firm to have confidence to stand themselves and stand for their rights. That is important.
What about Parents' Day? When we have Parents' Day, there are some parents who may not be aware how their child behavior is in the school system.
Well, I remember I gave the example where the principal calling the parents, with the student born and the child doesn't improve and stop bullying, you will have to go elsewhere. So that's why we keep on saying if people working, these teachers are informed, the principals are empowered, right, and given the support through official mechanisms from the ministry, then it can be dealt with. But until such a time, I hope it doesn't happen, but it looks like it will get worse because I don't see any of this happening.
As
The,
it,
you know the
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
but I'm saying the art school may take action, but on the average, most schools don't. You see, there's a difference here in terms of like denominational schools. The teachers in those schools take greater stake. They have a greater stake in the school. They take more care, right? They're involved to a greater extent because they feel ownership in the school.
Yes.
In the public school, teachers see it as Hans, I come to teach. I
They
engage
come
my
to
life.
make a day's work and get home, and that is it.
Yeah,
You're
so you see,
right.
it's no longer a vocation. But you see, I don't think you can blame them too. I've seen letters that students have written to teachers, right? I mean, so you don't blame them even at the university level, right? I remember way back we actually suspended a guy, right? From actually we suspend him totally from utility, couldn't come back again, where he threatened a teacher, a lecturer, that he would bring his posse for her. So we called him in, spoke to him. I asked the guy, I saw a cut in his chin. I asked him, how did you get that? He said he fell down. A cut in his head, how did he fell down? When we found out that he was a gangster. So, he was suspended from the university permanently.
A
So
gangster within the university. Imagine that.
that's right. Yeah, so I mean, you can't prove if you're a gangster and the guy going outside, but he comes in the university and then he's using his gang outside, or the posse as a censure on that. I don't think they say posse. I guess they still say posse to deal with the teacher. So we took action quickly right away also there.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying. There needs to administer consequences for undesirable actions immediately in the school system in order to close in on the time fraction.
Yes, there's no doubt. Like I say, if you don't act and act decisively, it encourages it, right? So it won't stop. That's why it's getting worse because
As
nothing
it
effective.
is, Pandit, as it is now, corporal punishment is banned in schools. What would you say about bringing back corporal punishment in schools?
Look, I'm not. I think punishment doesn't have to be corporal. Punishment is discipline, right? So I study the word punishment. We should say discipline and the disciplining. And the students should be disciplined, and they will be disciplined if they don't follow. Doesn't mean I'm not in favor of children being beaten in schools, right? but when it was removed, nothing else was put in place to replace it. That's the issue. You see, before people were afraid that, because of they'll get licks, eh?
So they
Now there's
had
nothing.
modified the system, but they failed to implement it.
But they removed something and they didn't put something to replace it, something else to replace it. See, that's the issue. So, I mean, I understand why it was removed. I mean, I don't think anybody wants a child to go to school, come home with bruises in their hands or elsewhere, right? But on the other hand, if students, how do you discipline students? And something must be put in place, and it doesn't have to be punishment, physical punishment necessarily. There can be other things in place to deal with that. You mean a simple thing like if parents can't understand that, you don't take action and we suspend the child has to stay home and you have to get somebody to see the child, etc. It puts stress on you. Eh? So you need to know that there are consequences for everybody. But students need to be disciplined. It's as simple as that. And we don't have a very disciplined society. Eh? We don't.
In our society today where evil looms everywhere, do you think that women they are bullied more and they need to embark on a gender sensitization program aimed at resetting this?
Well, I think nobody should be bullied, including women and girls, but we need data. When you look at some of the videos, and I don't know how represented the videos are, online videos, most of the fights are with girls, huh? That's what circulates. I don't know if the fights with the boys don't circulate, eh? But like I say, again, we need to have data-driven decision making. We need to collect data. Where's the data for this sort of thing? We just can't have reflex action, and, it makes it worse or leads to the same.
And as I mentioned earlier, we have bullying have even found its way in the parliament, according to Justice Prakash Persad. Would you say that have an impact on our society?
Well, yes, people look at the leaders, and whether it's consciously or subconsciously, it impacts on their behavior, right? And I mean, some of the pronouncements, etc., in Parliament, less than desirable, eh? Less than desirable, and
Yeah,
so
on both sides of the house, without calling names.
Yeah, no, I'm not pointing to one
Yeah,
side.
I know.
I'm
saying on both sides of the house it exists.
Yeah, so people need to have a code of conduct, right? And and behave better because they're supposed to be exemplars. Right? And when you look at other countries, some parliaments people fight all sort of things. We need to not have that here. So.
Pandit, in the last 5 minutes we have, what are some of your suggestions on a new approach to discipline, as you call it?
Well, like I say, the discipline, right? It has to be across the board. Now, if you take away discipline from, former President and Prime Minister Robinson's, famous statement about morality and spirituality, etc., right? I think we should have discipline on rules across the board, right? That makes sense, right? I mean, you look at the OPR, right? Laws. It is meant to prevent corruption. So it's not about morality and this sort of thing. It's about proper behavior. We are a multicultural country, multi-ethnic. Let's have these laws that are not dependent on anything, right? Have what is good behavior, define it, and put it in place, and let's follow it through. So a code of conduct, a code of behavior, and every organization, every institution must have that and insist on that. Now it is there, but in some form and fashion, but it's not implemented. But we have to insist on that. Like similar, you had mentioned about Parliament. There's a code of conduct in Parliament. People need to conduct themselves in a particular manner, and they should, whichever side you belong to, right? That treatment should be meted out, irrespective of whether you're in the government side or not. There needs to be equality in that way. Eh?
Is the law implemented? That's another question.
No, we don't implement laws. We pass laws, and there's very little implementation. Like violence against women is a good example of that. All right, I remember I was in Senate at that time. Right, when I spoke to NAR government passed the law, and I said to them, actually, the law was modeled on the South African law, and I said Trinidadian men would never accept a restraining order. They would prefer to kill the wife or spouse and kill themselves, but they think that is a sort of affront to their manhood to be told they can't go that way. Eh?
They can't touch the person, so they can't go.
Yeah, they laughed up and mocked me, and we see the results. Eh?
And we have seen many cases where, where there's domestic violence and where there's a restraining order taken out, and the man, he would not abide by it. It would he would not be a man to stay away.
That's right. You see, it points to a greater danger when we take laws from other countries where we have different cultures,
So,
And
Col,
then we
yes,
have a problem.
that is one question I had. I didn't get a chance to bring it in. Where culture plays a role in all of this, how we are
Big
brought
time.
up.
Yeah, big time. The culture, like I say, in Western countries, men tend to generally be more respectful of women and women's rights. And the women fight for it also. Women's rights is a big issue. Right? Here we have not reached that stage. I said, I think we are still not quite developed in that regard. Where women, in some countries, people still, and you can see it manifesting again, like in some examples in developed countries now, in one of our neighbors, where that you know, people think that the man is the dominant thing, and some of the rights women get must be rolled back,
Pandit, thank you so much for your time and good luck in your retirement.
Well, thank you, right, and best wishes.
Okay, birds sing after a storm. Why shouldn't people feel delight after whatever sunlight is left? Rose Kennedy. I am Ann Dookie. Thank you for watching.